the fuck is a reboot?
A reboot, boys, is when Hollywood wants to make a lot of money without the hassle of creating a new movie. So they take an old movie and change just enough to make you pay for the same shit all over again.
All right. Welcome to Frame for Frame. I screwed up with the title of the thing. Frame for Frame. It's right there in front of me, but I had a brain fart and just immediately was thinking frame to frame, but then no, it's Frame for Frame. I am sorry, everyone. I am Michael Cotton. I am here with Lil Yumper, Tom Garcia, and we are talking about the classic baseball movies from 1976, The Bad News Bears. So, yeah, sorry. I'm not great at introducing a show, clearly, but we were thinking about this because of all the Little League World Series and all that stuff just got over. You know, it was a big deal. They show that stuff on ESPN and all the coaches now. And so just had Little League on the mind, and so I suggested this last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago when we did the Body Snatchers, we were discussing off air what next movie we can aim for, and you were correct. Since the Little League World Series is really big right now, in the month of August and September, why not do one of the biggest baseball movies involving Little Leaguers in the 1976 Bad News Bears?
Right. And of course we had to find a movie that had a remake, right? Because there are a lot of like movies about Little League baseball and stuff or having to do with kids in baseball, but none of them I think were as big of an impact on the cinema world, the world in general, as the Bad News Bears was. And that's why it was able to get, what was it, 30 years later? It got a sequel, or not a sequel, but a remake.
29 years, but it was just a shade under 30. It got a remake. Also, it made a lot of money. So
it really did. It really did. All right. Well, we want to jump into Act 1 here.
Yes, sir. So we're going to be breaking out our segments into acts just to keep a little more flow for segments. Our Act 1 will detail with us giving a little synopsis of the film along with details around with, and the Act 2 is going to be our discussion, and Act 3 will be our verdict. So with that, Mr. Cotton, let's go into Act 1.
If elected mayor, my first act will be to kill the whole lot of you and burn your turn to cinders. I know it's on.
Willie, that's amazing. Okay, so I have the Bad News Bears from 1976. This movie is now almost 50 years old. And I know this because it came out the same year I was born, and I am also almost 50 years old. But so obviously I did not see this in the theaters. I saw it later, as most of us did, just on TV. But it came out in 1976. It's an hour 42, pretty good, quick runtime, really. It has a 7.3 on IMDb and 80% on Rotten Tomatoes Popcornometer. This movie was directed. Oh, we're jumping around here a little bit. Sorry. This movie was directed by Michael Ritchie. And what's funny is when I looked up Michael Ritchie, he calls himself a bad director. He doesn't think he's a good director. He's directed 37 movies. So I don't know how many bad directors direct 37 movies. That's a ton.
Evil.
Okay, yep, new one right off. But yeah, so I'm not going to go through all 37 movies, but he did a bunch of other sports movies, especially in the late 80s or late 70s, early 80s. He did Semi-Tough with Burt Reynolds. That was a football movie. He then did Wildcats with Goldie Hawn, which is another football movie. I have not seen Semi-Tough. Wildcats is a classic. I love that movie. Diggstown with Louis Gossett Jr.
Classic.
That's an very underrated movie, I think. And then The Scout, another baseball movie, and that had Brendan Fraser in it, and that was like the early 90s.
Yeah, Albert Brooks.
Yeah. And then also he directed the Fletch films, which those aren't really sports movies, but everybody knows the Fletch films. So Fletch and Fletch Lives.
Dickstown is such an underrated, like you said, boxing movie, gambling movie. I wrote a blog about it a while ago on our website. I know fans of the show and whatnot, Beef Loaf and Chirizi from the 108 guys, they love Diggstown. It's such a great film.
It really is. And honestly, Louis Gossett Jr. is, I think, a little forgotten. I think Louis Gossett Jr. is a great actor, and he hasn't been in a ton of things, but I just remember in those like late 80s, early 90s, he was in a number of like action films and stuff, and I always liked seeing him in those movies.
Yeah, he unfortunately passed, I believe, this year. No, last year. Last year he passed. 87 years old.
Yeah, nice. 87 is a pretty good long life.
Yeah.
Well, this movie starred Walter Matthau as Buttermaker, which Buttermaker is it's kind of a funny name. I don't know where they came up with that, but I love that it's Buttermaker. Tatum O'Neal as Amanda. Jackie Earle Haley as Kelly Leak. Chris Barnes as Tanner. Aaron Blunt as Ahmed. Carrie Lee Cavagnaro is Engelberg, and Vic Morrow was the Yankees coach, the other sort of prominent adult in this movie. And I only went through those names because those are the characters that we see the most, because there's a number of other kids that we didn't really see much of after. I mean, they're in every scene, but you don't notice them. They don't have a ton of lines.
Yeah, not to mention Joyce Van Patten, who played Cleveland, the
What am I
clubhouse lady.
missing? What am I missing about Joyce Van Patten? Because everything I look at, it's like Joyce Van Patten was in Bad News Bears. Joyce Van Patten, she's not in this movie all that much.
I think she was more like a comedic, like little throw in there to Buttermaker. Like, she talks a lot of shit. She's kind of like Roy Tur's right-hand man, runs the league. I mean, even in the end of the movie, she's like, I know the little marshmallows are going to make it this far. Like, little things like that.
Right,
she has a little more prominent role in this one than she does in the remake.
Yeah, and when I did look up at her name, she is super famous. So I think maybe it's just that she was just such a great actress and was in so many things. They just kept putting her up at the top. But it is kind of funny when you look at the credits of this movie. The order in which the names come out are just kind of all over the place, because you're looking at like the adults get higher billing than a lot of the kids, but the adults weren't in the movie very much. I don't know. It was just kind of an interesting thing, because now you generally see credits as the people who are on screen the most are up top. But yeah, so this movie cost $9 million back in 76, and it made $32 million. So that's a really nice return on that. And if you've never seen this, the movie is about a father sues the city in order to get a team into a baseball league. Basically because his kid didn't have a team and there were some other kids. So he had to sue the city in order to get into this league. Then he hires ex-minor leaguer / major leaguer. I didn't really get the feeling that he had actually broken into the majors. Did you, Yump?
No, he actually says that
Yeah,
he
he
never
was
pitched the majors. I think the highest he made was the spring training with the club.
right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But then I got a little confused with the next movie. But he's now a pool cleaner. He gets hired to be the coach, which is all sort of under wraps. They're not supposed to be paying the coaches. But Buttermaker is a complete alcoholic, and he is absolutely not up for the job. He eventually takes a liking to the kids and brings in his ex-girlfriend's daughter to pitch. And he also lets the local juvenile delinquent play on the team, which leads to them reaching the championship game. He then gets super caught up in winning and treats the kids even worse than he did at the beginning until he realizes what a jerk he is being to them. So that is our 1976 synopsis of The Bad News Bears.
And for me, I'm going to go into the 2005 remake of The Bad News Bears. Just to give a little background on it, the director was Richard Linklater, who is considered by many a great director. Richard Linklater also directed another sports movie called Everybody Wants Some, which is a great college film about college baseball that one of our friends had to put us on to, Southside Zoe. And I really, really fell in love with the movie and actually watched it every so often. He also did the film Boyhood, which got critically acclaimed, Slacker, and one of my favorite films, A Scanner Darkly. Not too many sports films from Richard Linklater. But
He did Dazed and Confused as well,
Yes.
which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And that is not about baseball, but one of the main characters is a pitcher, and he does have a scene in which the kid is pitching.
Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch Keller.
This
No,
before
not
he-
Mitch Keller. Maybe it was Mitch Keller.
I think it is Mitch Keller. He gets that's before he gets paddled to death by by Ben Affleck and the other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitch Kramer.
Mitch Kramer. Okay, because I was like, Mitch Keller, I think, is a pitcher actually in the major leagues.
Brad Keller.
Brad Keller, Mitch. Whatever. I'm terrible with names, obviously.
So am I, obviously, pronouncing names. But the film stars Billy Bob Thornton as Morris the Blade Buttermaker. I guess they had to give him a nickname to make him cool. You have Greg Kinnear as Ray Bullock, Jeffrey Davies as Kelly Leak, Sammy Kane Kraft as Amanda, and Marcia Gay Harden as Liz Whitewood. So the role of Alderman Whitewood has now changed to a woman.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting take. And that Sarah Kane,
Sarah Kane Kraft.
Sarah Kane Kraft, you know, she was not an actress.
Yeah, so I was going to say this for the second part, but
Oh, sorry.
no, it's all good. Both films actually have a lot of tragedy in them.
Yeah.
With Vic Morrow, who everybody knows as the Yankees coach, or Roy Turner from the Yankees, he was actually killed in the Twilight Zone. The scene where the story where the man goes back in time, the racist man goes back in time. He was actually hit by a falling helicopter on set. That was probably it is probably one of the most horrific things that have ever happened on a set. And the director for the film was actually sued. That director, being the great John Landis, was sued for that. I did a whole thing on it for my 31 Days of Horror. It was just a horrible thing. Him and two other children were killed during that. And unfortunately, on the other side, Sammy Kane Kraft, the athlete who played Amanda in the 2005 remake, was a professional / amateur baseball player / softball player. She was actually playing for her university. She actually died in a car crash at 20. The driver was intoxicated, her friend. And she drove her and she crashed and she died on impact while her friend escaped with minor injuries, typically the way it goes.
Right.
And Jeffrey Davies, who plays Kelly Leak, was in a horrible motorcycle accident where he had to learn to walk again.
Wow.
Yeah, so some real tragedy on both sides of the spectrum here for the films. But going into the box office and ratings, This movie had a budget of 35 million and a box office of 34 million, so just under budget. Its ratings at IMDb are 5.8 out of 10. It has a 48% critic certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, but both films, including the 1976 version and the 2005 version, earned 3 stars from the great Roger Ebert, which I thought was pretty hilarious.
Very surprising to me as well that Roger Ebert gave them both 3 stars.
Yeah, and I read his reviews for both of them, where it was, I mean, I don't know. I love Roger Ebert though. But to go with the synopsis for this film, pretty much the same as the original. The only difference is that Buttermaker did play in the majors for 2/3 of an inning. He pitched for the Seattle Mariners, where he got lit up. He also is now a pest control worker. He owns his own pest control business instead of a pool cleaner, as well as the character of the Whitewood that sues the league is actually a woman lawyer now, who basically shows she doesn't have time for her child. Kind of same scenario as in the original film with the councilman Whitewood. So pretty much not too much change in the back story of the film. They keep the same thing kind of going, just different professions and different gender roles for the person that's suing the league.
Yep.
So with that, you want to get into Act 2, my friend?
Synopsis.
Yep. Get to Act 2, my friend. Here we go. So we're going to go into our discussion in Act 2.
And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the classics.
So, Mr. Cotton, since you had the 1976 version, give me like a rundown a little bit of what you thought about it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, this movie came out the year I was born, so I obviously did not see it until later. And I saw it on TV. And so I have to say, the first couple times I saw this, I did not see it with all of the racial slurs and stuff in it. That came later when I rented it on VHS. And then I was like, oh, that's an interesting, like, little bit of nastiness with this movie. But I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I really did think, being almost 50 years old, this movie was going to be very dated and very tough to watch. It was not. It was actually, a lot of the stuff going on in this movie, I think, is very prevalent in today's society with coaches and stuff. I mean, there are little bits in there that can be a little bit cringy, but for whatever reason, I felt like the 76 version gets away with it without it being so, it doesn't feel nearly as harsh in that movie. And I think maybe it's because of that's sort of the time, the era. And so when nobody's reacting oddly to it, you're like, it fits in. And I felt like some of the things that they did in the remake didn't age as well, because you're like, well, I don't know that they would have let them do that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the 1976 version is a classic on its own. There's no debate. We're not going to have the debate on whether it's a good movie or a bad movie. It's literally a good movie. Just some things haven't aged well in terms of some of the jokes, the stereotypes, mostly ethnic stereotypes, stuff like that. There's a lot of like jokes that just don't fly today, and that's understandable. You know, every film or every era had their own thing, and just because it was okay then doesn't mean it was okay all the time. But this is people are more comfortable with this kind of humor, I would say. But saying that, though, one thing I did really, really like about the 1976 film is I'm a baseball purist. I know, except with the DH, unlike you. But I hate CGI when it comes to playing baseball. I think it's the worst thing. I love the fact when they show people actually catching the ball, throwing the ball, hitting the ball, pitching the ball. It makes it more authentic and more of an enjoyable, realistic experience for me, because I played my whole life into my 30s. Cotton, I know you played a long time. We are both avid baseball fans. And the 1976 film really, really shows that with the hit. I love the fact when he's teaching the kids how to pick a ground ball, how to plant your feet, how to slide, how to even the little things like when he makes Rudy Stein step into a pitch. I know people like that I played with who were in slumps that would do that shit on purpose,
Yeah.
just so they can get on base, like bite their shirt so they wouldn't turn their head and step into a pitch. Like just playing that reminded me back all the way of high school when I had somebody hitting in front of me and they're like, "Yo, I'm gonna step into this one." So if you could move me over, that'd be great. Because I wasn't a power hitter, I was a slap hitter. But
I was a terrible hitter. I didn't realize that I had bad eyes. Like I didn't get glasses until later. But yeah, my last year playing Little League, I had a pretty good OBP, but it was only because pitchers were terrible and I was tough enough to just take the hit. I would take the hit and then go to first and then steal my way around and score.
Yeah. I usually hit in the 2 spot, so easy to the leadoff guy, or sometimes they hit me in the 8 spot. So 7 hitter used to, when they were horrible, used to ask me to bunt them over or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the whole, I love that aspect of the realism there. I also think I kind of like that it's just more raw and gritty for this version, for the 1976 version. I like that aspect of it, and it has nothing to do with what came out first. I just like that aspect of films. Would you agree, like in terms of the authenticness of the baseball playing and whatnot between the two?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This movie was made. I mean, they could have done some special effects to try and make some things work, but they didn't. They literally had to get shots of kids hitting baseballs and stuff, and that was on film. It's not digital back then. They burned probably a ton of stock just trying to get some of these shots. But at the same time, part of this team being bad, if they screw up, it's kind of good for the film. So
Yeah.
that's good. But I think one of the big things about this film, I think that makes it special in how baseball films are taken is because it's mostly shot from the kid's perspective. Or, I mean, it's about Buttermaker. He's like the main guy. But you don't see very many scenes with Buttermaker without the kids, right? There's only a few. So everything goes through those kids. It's all pretty much at the baseball field. They do go off the field a couple of times. They go clean some pools and, stuff like that. But most of it is right there in the dugout. It's on the field. And if you think about sports movies in general, they rarely do that. They almost always have the actual sports is sort of the climax, or it's something that comes up at the end. Whereas this movie literally takes place at the ball diamond, and it's dirty. The ball diamond's dirty. The kids are dirty, like actually getting, sliding around and doing stuff. And I don't know, it gave it that much more realism because they were doing it that way versus, I don't know, maybe do the shots on a sound stage or something, or have it be all about the relationships off the field type of a situation.
I mean, it kind of does a little bit with the Amanda Buttermaker relationship, but like I get what you're saying. Like it's mostly most of the story is on the field, which I think is something that makes it pure to me.
Yeah.
In terms of a sports movie. Now it's grimy. It's there's a lot of snapshot of 1970 values and culture, and culture here, which all wasn't good, but it's got great performances, I think, by Tatum O'Neal and Walter Matthau. Walter Matthau, who of course is known for playing miserable characters. I mean, he's fucking in The Odd Couple.
Yeah.
That's where he made his bread and butter. But he's a phenomenal actor in his own right, and I think he portrays that grizzled old grumpy ass alcoholic guy that you kind of can see his bad side and his good side. One thing I did like was that he wasn't completely apologetic of his behavior. He just one of those people that showed it through different ways. of instead of saying I'm sorry, he would kind of do like make it like I'll make up for it in a way where like I'm sorry, but without saying I'm sorry.
It was very much 1970s in that way. Like the idea, people now would just like have no clue what it was like. But back then, like the fact that he was driving around and drinking and showing up at the ballpark to coach and he was drunk and all this stuff, like I forgot how big of an alcoholic he is. Like he's really bad. He passes out on the field at one point. And it's rough in that aspect, but like you said, it's true to its era, and I think those things were so much more accepted. Like people just didn't think about beer or alcoholism in the same way. Like they didn't understand how bad it could be for a person, or they did, but it just wasn't referenced. Like it wasn't acknowledged. And I think he does a great job of somehow, as bad of an alcoholic as he is, and as bad as he is toward some of these kids, he somehow makes it so that you don't hate him. Like that's a weird tightrope to be able to walk, and somehow Walter Matthau was able to do it. But I think a lot of that might come from the kids. These actors in this 76 movies, not all of them did much after this. Some of them did. Tatum O'Neal obviously is a great actress. She had already won an Oscar for acting.
She didn't win. She got nominated.
Oh, she got nominated. She didn't win?
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
I thought she
was
won for Paper Moon.
I think she was the reason it was so big was because she was the youngest actor to be nominated, and I think that might have been broken by Haley Joel Osment when he was nominated.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. Well, she at least got nominated for Paper Moon. And have you ever seen Paper Moon?
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. If anybody out there is looking for a really interesting movie about a girl and her father, her actual real father, Paper Moon is excellent. But yeah, so she's great. Walter Matthau is great. Jackie Earle Haley is actually not the greatest actor in this movie, but he pulls it off. Like his character was a little odd. I got a Harley Davidson, but he pulls it off. And but I feel like all these kids, Tanner is horrible. He's the racist kid. I mean, he's basically the one doing, like, saying all the racist stuff, which I think is another thing too that sort of makes it's like, oh, there's this one kid that clearly is a jerk kid,
I think, so just more like of an analytical thing. Oh, also sorry for nerding out about the Tatum O'Neal thing. I was just like,
no, that's great. I actually did think she won though,
but I think more of the Tanner character, I think, was supposed to show like those kids who act tough but are really vulnerable, kind of like a version of Buttermaker himself. He acts tough, but like you sense it a lot, at least from Matthau's performance, that he really didn't like himself, because he even says he's a drunk. He tells Amanda that he's a drunk. Like, why do you want to hang out with him? And he even like talks about his flaws. And I think not Tatum O'Neal, but Tanner's character kind of, and you kind of see him sticking up for Lupus when he gets thrown in the garbage can. He kind of shows like he does have a good heart. He just has to portray that tough guy attitude, like when he fights the whole sixth grade.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was a little too over the top though. But I guess that's, like I said, the time.
Well, and I feel like it was almost it was kind of like the whole Blazing Saddles of it all and stuff. There was a little bit of a commentary there, I think, happening around that time about these words, and the idea that a kid was saying it, I think, highlighted the fact that, oh, if you think that kid shouldn't be saying that, maybe nobody should be saying that. You know what I mean? So it's hard because obviously we weren't around back then to get that feel. But I want to, I guess my own personal, like, I want to believe that they were trying to highlight the racism a little bit so that you knew this is not proper. This is not what you should be doing. The same way that they highlighted how these coaches act towards kids, the fact that he's drinking on the field. I feel like all of that is sort of a commentary on this is not the way you should be doing it. And the humor only comes from the fact that they don't realize this is bad.
Yeah, and it's one of the first movies that show kind of a strong anti-hero like protagonist rather than like a typical good coach, goody two shoes coach. You had like it's one of the few movies I can remember where kids actually act like real kids. And I mean, believe it or not, kids do say stupid shit, and it's not like all sunshine and rainbows. I mean, we've all been kids. We've all said stupid shit or seen people say stupid shit or done stupid things.
Or been coaches and had to deal with those kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough.
I mean, I don't think I've had an alcoholic coach like Buttermaker, but I've had some hard ass coaches that, like, they'll tell you like it is. They don't care about feelings. And Buttermaker was kind of like that too. Like, no, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. No, well, I coached Little League for 10 years, and I coached soccer, and I coached all sorts of sports for my kids in local rec leagues. And some of those kids aren't great. And I always understood, because then I would get to meet their parents and I'd be like, oh, I get it. Like, it's not necessarily the kid's fault. They're a reflection of their own homes, right? So if they're not the best, then that's not on the kids, it's on the parents. But yeah, I mean, you go through that. This is one of the more, it's maybe the most real I've seen with interactions between coaches and kids, because even when coaches are trying to be nice and these kids are angry, the kids aren't going to give it up, you know?
Yeah. And one thing I do like too, is Roy Turner, Vic Morrow's job as the Yankees coach. I know so many coaches like him. Like, it's unfortunate, but that still happens today, where they really don't give a shit about the kids. They care about that trophy that's coming, or, you know, they're overly competitive to where they don't. It's even in the newer one with Ray Kinnear, you know, his performance too. But there's so many coaches like that they're more concerned about the way the team represents them than helping the team.
Yeah,
they're more concerned about winning. And unfortunately, even in Little League, I mean, more predominantly maybe in high school sports, but in Little League, you got those parents who want their kids to be major leaguers and push those. I mean, you wrote a great article about your kids not going to make it to the pros, which I thought was hilarious, because I know a lot of those parents that spend X amount of money on their kids and push them to the limit, and they're not gonna. No, it's a tough pill to swallow, but if people actually thought about how hard it is to make the fucking major leagues in any sport, to make it professional, it's ridiculously hard. That's why there's only a certain amount of people that can do it, and all those people, like, when they were kids, were so far ahead. Even the suckiest ones. A perfect example in basketball: Brian Scalabrine, horrible player in the NBA, can still whoop any amateur's ass in basketball, which he does. Like, it's extremely hard to make those things, and you have these parents that are overly indulging in making their kids fulfill their dreams. And I think Turner kind of showed that a lot in this film.
Yeah, and I mean, and here's the thing: we think of these things as more modern issues. This movie is 50 years old. So they shot it in like 75 if it came out in 76, right? So that's 50 years ago. They were making a movie about stuff that is happening right now on Little League fields, you know, with these coaches and how they're acting. And I mean, they said right up at the top that Roy Wood, right? Yeah. He was saying, oh, we're a competitive league. We don't want bad players in our league. That was the whole thing. And I will say one issue that I did have with this movie, and this does come down to the directing. The pacing of this movie, especially early on, is really all over the place. It takes time on things that maybe they shouldn't take time, and just flies right past things that that you maybe should have been a little more into. So the whole idea that he sued the league to get this team in doesn't come across if you miss like maybe 30 seconds of this movie. You know, it's the...
And you know what the crazy thing is? The 2005 film does the same thing.
Yeah. They're a little more... show a little bit more of it to make sure you understand that the woman sued. But yeah, it's not a big point.
Yeah, and I wish they would have put more emphasis on it. But just going in now to the 2005 remake, first things first, I'll say this. Billy Bob Thornton is a treasure. I like Billy Bob Thornton and mostly everything he does. He's a very, very well-rounded actor, from Sling Blade to he did a great role as a prosecutor in the film The Judge with Robert Downey Jr. He is an excellent actor all around. Of course, he did Bad Santa, and we were getting a lot of Bad Santa in this film, which is why I think that he was chosen for this role. And if I'm going to be honest, during this time, I wouldn't have chosen anybody else. Billy Bob Thornton to try to pull off Buttermaker for this film. It does have some faithfulness to the original story structure. Like I said, the kids are sued to get in, to get into the league. It did keep an R rating for this film, which I thought was kind of crazy because Bad News Bears was PG. This one was a little... I think this one was R rated, if I'm not mistaken.
It might have been, but only because of the standards today are different. So back in 76, you could say shit or damn or goddamn. All those words would be okay in a PG rated movie. But when you get into 2005, those exact same words...
It was PG-13.
Yeah. Okay. So PG-13. So they had a limited number of those words that they could use. And, so and that's sort of just a ratings thing. They didn't have a PG-13 back in the day, in 76.
The cinematography, I think, is polished in this film, over the 1976 film. And that's probably because you have Linklater as the director, who is phenomenal. This film has fucking CGI for baseball catches.
Yeah.
Which you don't need fucking CGI. Have the kid catch the ball. I mean, no matter how many takes it takes, just have the kid catch the ball. That annoyed me.
Yeah, and you know what's amazing is that Linklater got Sarah. God, why do I keep forgetting her damn name? Sammy Kane Kraft for this movie, because he was like, look, nobody's going to outact Tatum O'Neal, right? In the same role. There's no way he's going to be able to find a child actor who's going to act better than her. So he went out and found an athlete, and she was an athlete. She participated in the Junior Olympics. She played, like you said, she played in college, and she could throw 75 miles per hour at the age of 13.
Gas.
Yeah.
She threw gas.
And so all the pitching stuff she could actually do, and that's why he got her. But apparently that didn't extend to the rest of the cast, because he didn't obviously get the ones that could do the thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I didn't like about the 2005 film was, besides her, I thought, man, she's like legit. You know what? The crazy thing is, I see a lot of my cousin in Tatum O'Neal and Sammy Kane Kraft's character Amanda, just from the pitching aspect, because my cousin was a young, skinny girl who is my brother's age. They both play Little League, and she was a pitcher, and she was fucking really good, like really good. And she threw harder than some of the boys, and she was our number one starter when I used to coach them in Little League. and she was awesome. But that's to me is like, oh, and it's very rare, even for the woman to be playing with men's sports. We had it when I was growing up, but when it was a girl playing with us with the traveling team, it was like a big thing. Like that fucking girl's good.
Yeah.
And she I love the fact she schooled the boys and whatnot because it shows that can possibly happen. And Sammy Kane Kraft was phenomenal in her role of pitching. And I thought Tatum O'Neal did a great job too, but Sammy Kane Kraft, just from being a natural, kind of gave that more authentic to the pitching sequences. But when it comes to like the hitting, the part when the thing that really kind of pissed me off is when Buttermaker is showing Tanner how to plant his foot and his knee when catching a ground ball. I was taught that as a kid. When Billy Bob Thornton is showing them how to fucking field the ground ball and shift your legs, he puts his like glove up like that. Who the hell tells you to have your glove up like this?
And he's got his legs spread as wide as possible.
Yeah.
That ball goes right under that glove and you're done.
The only time I was ever told to have my glove upside down was when I caught, and that was to block pitches to hit your chest plate, your chest protector. If I caught a ball like that, my coach would fucking make me run laps.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing but I was like, what is he talking about? That really annoyed me there.
And it's really surprising that Linklater allowed that, because Linklater clearly loves baseball. Like he's put it in a number of his movies. He made a whole that, everybody gets some. That whole movie is about college baseball. Like he's into it. And yet he allowed sort of that to happen, and that was weird.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, that kind of, just me watching it was like, what? I know people are like, oh, you're looking too much into this, but me, like, I played baseball, I was like, this is stupid. And I understand, like, but I'm supposed to make comparisons to what's real and what isn't. And I would call out if the 76 film did the same thing. Another thing I liked was this is just me being a nerd, was I love the 76 film sound effects for when the ball is thrown and hit. The whoosh, instead of the metal bat, even though I grew up in the metal bat era. But that kind of made me a little miss the 76 film a little more when I watched this. I will say there are some great, hilarious parts. Billy Bob Thornton had some great one-liners in this film that I loved. When he was talking to the kid, and he's Armenian, and he's like, oh, you're Aztec, or he's like Armenian. He's like, I'm Armenian. He goes, who gives a shit? You both built pyramids. Like that,
Yeah.
That part made me laugh. I'm not gonna lie. The part, like Tony said yesterday when we were talking off air, the cocaine, when their kids are, he's dancing, singing the cocaine, and like at Hooters raising their arms to cocaine by Eric Clapton. That part made me laugh. But to me, I think this 2005 film it tried to be too much Bad Santa than trying to be its own Bad News Bears, if that makes sense.
Well, I think Billy Bob Thornton was like Bad Santa coach. If that Bad Santa character coached, it really was that. And I will say, I didn't like it. I mean, I didn't like this movie as much as it seems like you did. I will say Linklater's direction and the actual filming of the movie and the pacing and everything, he fixed all that. I think he did. The other guy who, he said he's not a good director, right? Which is kind of funny, but Michael Ritchie says he's not a great director. Linklater is. And I feel like Linklater cleaned up a lot of that stuff that maybe Michael Ritchie was missing back in the 70s. The problem I had is that it hit a lot of the same beats anyway. When Engelberg throws the ball and it busts his windshield, those two scenes are exactly the same, in both movies. And I'm not a big fan of that. Like, I did expect the 2005 movie to move a little bit off of that more. But from what I saw, they kind of shifted the racism from the kids to the coach more so. It's like in the old one, I don't think Buttermaker was like casually racist, whereas Billy Bob Thornton, or I'm sorry, Matthau was casually racist, whereas Billy Bob Thornton really seemed actually racist. And they took that away sort of off the kids and gave it to him. And that didn't sit as well with me because he's an adult and he should be better than that. And then they took a lot of the jokes or a lot of the commentary about racism and they basically shifted it to misogyny. And that was like the big thing. And people say, oh, it was PC. They couldn't say this stuff. No, they just shifted it to misogyny and some, light homophobia. And that was sort of their take on it since they couldn't say a lot of the words that Tanner was saying in 76.
Yeah. So here's some of my notes I'm gonna tell you. Like I didn't enjoy this movie. There were certain parts that made me laugh, but I did not enjoy it. And I to be honest with you, I watched this film first before going back to the 76 version because I wanted to experience this one before I compared it to the other one because I think the other one is a classic. And I said, you know what? Let me watch the new one first, and then I'll compare that to the original.
That's actually maybe a good way to do this in the future because we're going to switch back and forth, remake and original, and maybe that's a good way to handle it when you have the remake. I like that idea.
So one of my notes is it lacks the 1976 charm of the version, which I totally felt when I was writing this down. This film, the 2005 film, tries to be too hard to be edgy. That was one thing I didn't like. Some jokes fall flat. It doesn't capture the heart of the original. Kelly Leak's character is less iconic, I think, in this film. He's just a kid, like the juvenile delinquent. And like you said, the misogyny stuff and like the edginess to me it didn't make there's no place for it. I understand like you trying to be a little edgy, but the fucking part where Billy Bob Thornton's watching the softball players. Now, I was assumed those softball players were like teenagers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know. I guess they're adults because he goes and talks to them, but I thought they were teenage girls. And what he says is this fucking like kind of creepy as hell.
When they're at the beginning of the movie, he's actually watching a softball team play and he says some really sexist stuff about one of the players. And then afterwards you see him hitting on her. Now, I will say, when they were on the field, I thought the same thing as you. They seemed very young. When he was walking next to her, she seemed older.
Yeah, like older. So that kind of but it was weird.
Athletes are big, athletic people, even if they're women. And that could have easily been a 16, 17-year-old girl that this, 40, 50-year-old man was hitting on. And it was kind of gross.
It was extremely.
And I will say, the 76 had none of that, right? Like, they didn't have any objectification of women, even with Tatum O'Neal's character going out there. Like, you would totally expect them to be like, oh, she's a girl, she can't do this. But it's not there. But in the 2005, at one point, you get the opposing team yelling at the pitcher, your training bra is too tight. It's just like, come on, that wouldn't fly in 2005.
Like the Kelly Leak and Amanda, their dynamic too. It was like, it wasn't as, I guess, natural chemistry like the first original. Like, I think they tried to push a little bit too much in this one, the Kelly Leak and Amanda relationship. Like, in the original, you kind of see that she didn't like him at first.
Right.
Which they showed in the, in the film. And there's actually scenes where they cut out of her showing that she didn't like him, which I thought would have played better even more. But this one, they kind of seem like she likes him as she's smirking and shit when, like, I get it, that's the bad boy, but it's just... Like the Amanda character, I think, and the Kelly Lee character, I think, were watered down extremely.
That relationship seemed much more romantic than it did in the 76 version. Because even though very similar, like these movies, there's a lot of similarities just in the beats of the movie and the things that you see. But that relationship between Kelly Leak and Amanda, they ride the motorcycle together, they hang out together, but you get way more of a feeling that they are friends and that there's no sort of, at least for me, I didn't feel that they were romantically interested in each other at all. Kelly Leak was romantically interested in all the older women in that movie. Like, he was like going after high schoolers in college.
Yeah, he dated
women.
an 8th grader, they said in the film.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I understand the play of the Ahmed character, how they try to make it like, oh, you're a fan. He tried to make him into a nerd. You're a fan of Mark McGuire. That to me was just unnecessary. It was like a joke that was supposed to be funny, but I was like, this is kind of stupid.
Well, see, and that was where the racism sort of came in, shifted to the coach. You know, he was like, oh, you're number 25. You like Junior? You know, and he's like, no. And he's like, you like this? And he's like, no, I like Mark McGuire. And Billy Bob Thornton says, really? He's a white. And it's like, and it's really just sort of that, like, the adult giving that to the kid, like giving them that sort of direction, felt worse than an 11-year-old kid saying shit that he clearly got at home. But you have hope that that kid's going to grow out of that. But when Buttermaker does it as an adult in Billy Bob's version, you're just like, no, this guy's pretty bad.
Yeah, and the thing that bothered me about it was the fact that Ahmed in the original was a fan of Hank Aaron actually played into a little bit of his character development, because that's what got him to not be embarrassed about playing so bad, was when Buttermaker told him about all the errors Hank Aaron had committed in the minor leagues.
Complete lie.
No, I think that's true. I think that's true. He committed all those errors.
Oh, was it? Like,
yeah.
I got the feeling that it was.
I think, he committed 42 errors in his first year as playing Sandlot as a child.
Oh, okay. But see, like, how do you know? If you're playing Sandlot, nobody's taking those stats. You know what I mean? I mean, Hank Aaron playing Little League in whatever, 1930s or 40s.
And actually, the 1976 film popularized it. That's how it got, like, big. But, I mean, I don't know. I
just assume that he made up the story to get the kid feel okay about it.
Even if it wasn't true, like, just the fact that he used that as a building block to get the kid to come back was like a great way. Now, the Mark McGuire thing they just put it in there for that small joke, and that was it. Like, there was nothing after that.
Yeah.
You know, which I don't know. That I tried to give the 2005 film a lot more leeway. Like I said, I watched it first. There were some improvements to like a cinematography I thought were good. The jokes they're not raunchy. It had the one thing that really irritated the shit out of me was the role of Tanner. This kid is wearing a fucking wig.
Yeah,
like his hair is black. Like,
they
what?
just wanted him to look the same. That was it.
Yeah, just make him wear, like, he can have black hair. He doesn't have to have blonde hair. You can have long black hair. The kid's natural hair color is black. Like, this wig looks horrible. This poor kid had to wear a wig the whole time.
Yeah, that was ridiculous what they were doing with him. And yeah, they changed the joke. They updated a lot of the jokes. But every update, every sort of like change that they made to the movie sort of fell flat and didn't work. The idea that they were, and again, this is where, like, he actually goes into Chico's bail bonds. You see the shot, but then the team is sponsored by a strip club, and I can't remember what it was. Bo Peep's strip club. And it's like, that was supposed to be the funny part, right? Like, that's the update. It didn't make that joke better. In fact, the Chico's bail bonds still would have been the correct joke in 2005 over the Bo Peeps, I think.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of cool how they showed him actually going in to the businesses. That was kind of cool because they didn't show that in the original. So it gave a little bit more backstory to that. But like the fact that I'm like, they just put Bo Peeps just to make it more raunchy. I'm like, it's fucking stupid to me. That was very, very stupid.
Yep. And then they go into, then they celebrate at Hooters, and then they have, I believe those are strippers at the game. These are 11 and 12-year-old kids. And these strippers are there watching Little League baseball and cheering for them. Again, that was not a part of the first movie. There was nobody from Chico's Bail Bonds showed up to like do anything with the team. It was just a way to get a little bit of TNA in this movie for no reason.
It was a total ripoff of 2000s The Replacements.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the strippers become the cheerleaders because of the football strike. And that at least made sense because she hired strippers because there's nobody else that could dance, which distracted the team. And they were grown men. It made no sense. It was just getting TNA in the film, like you said.
There was no reason for those women to be there in any way. Like, they didn't have kids on the team. There was no, they weren't asked to be cheerleaders. Like, they just showed up. So if you're wondering, if you've ever been to a strip club and you look at all those women up there dancing and you wonder, what do they do in their off time? Apparently they go to Little League baseball games.
You want to hear something funny, though? So for my traveling team, when I was younger, we were sponsored by Teamsters, which of course is a big union. The union. Yeah. It didn't really settle into me that the mob was involved in Teamsters until we got into, it was the regional game where we played. We played the regional championship game. We ended up losing, but they came and they were legit dudes in like suits, like legit. And they were in like the mafiosa kind of suits sitting there in these fucking $2,000 suits watching us in the bleachers. I had no idea who they were until my dad told me, hey, those guys are from Teamsters. I was like, what?
That's crazy.
I was like, what? We lost. But so they're probably like these sons of bitches. But that I remember that growing up. But they never came to our games, like our regular games. They only came to when it mattered. These people were coming to every game. These strippers were coming to for these kids.
Right. Well, and yeah, I don't know what the union guys are doing there, but at the same time, that is a thing where it's like they could actually be there promoting the union, talking to people to, that strippers were not doing that in the movie. And yeah, it was, you're not going to be there telling the parents, hey, come to Bo Peeps after the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, Greg Kinnear, I called him Roy earlier, he was an okay choice for the Yankees coach. He's good at playing assholes. I mean, I really liked him in Mystery Men, even though people don't like that movie. It's Captain Amazing. He's a good asshole playing guy, good actor. I thought, the character of Mrs. Whitewood or Miss Whitewood, great actress, Marcia Gay Harden. But I think she was completely wasted. I think her character was a waste of time. They had him hook up with her like Bad Santa style, which made no sense.
That was a terrible storyline. Like, that didn't need to be. Again, this is the. Oh, of course she's gonna want to sleep with him. Like, it had no purpose to the movie. If you pull that out of the movie, nothing changes.
It was stupid, and it had there was nothing that came out of it except the kid seeing him coming out and him talking about oiling his glove.
Yeah, and then the whole Greg Kinnear thing, I thought he did a great job as being an asshole, but sort of riding the line of I'm an asshole, but I'm also a coach, and I do kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm also this jerk. And the one thing in the movie that I felt that 2005 made me understand better than in the 76 was when the kid threw at the other kid, right? Threw the ball at the other kid. In the 76, I didn't necessarily get it seemed to kind of come out of nowhere when the kid threw at him that the coach got so mad at his son. Whereas in the 2005, it was much clearer why he got mad at him.
Yeah, the 76 version I think was more, like I said, those parents that think that the kids represent them more than themselves in terms of, because he tells them what to do.
Yeah.
And then he throws at him. He's like, "You try to hit him. You're not supposed to hit kid." It's more like, I'm a dirty coach, whatnot. That's what he was more worried about, was his reputation than his son. Well, why his son actually did it. And in the 76 version, he's giving him the finger at the fucking home plate, while in the 2005 version, he's just talking shit to him. Which, I mean, I don't know if when I talk shit to the batters and they talk that, but more like fun play banter back and forth. But what'd you think of? I want to ask you, like, what'd you think of the change there, where in the 76 version he hits a ground ball to him and he just holds the ball while he runs the bases, while in the 2005 version he throws a lollipop, underhand throw to him to hit a home run. What'd you think of the change there?
That was a bad change. Like I said, all the changes that they made to the 2005 were worse than the original version. Now, and I did actually want to talk about this. Those 76 kids, I freaking loved how they played that. And I think you said it earlier too. That's how kids act, right? And that kid gets the ball and just stands there and looks at his dad as he throws that ball into his mitt over and over. And I freaking loved it. In the 80s, I was that kid. I was like, 8, 9, 10. Like, we learned to be like, to not listen to our parents, to do those things. Like, if they were wrong, we didn't take that shit. Like, and we learned it from movies like this. I remember watching this back in the day and just being like, oh, those kids are awesome. Kelly Leak in that whole 76 movie, every time somebody gives him shit, he gives it right back to him. He doesn't care that he's 11 or 12 years old. And in fact, he joins the Bad News Bears not because anybody talked him into it, but to piss off the Yankees coach. They tried to play that the same way in the 2005 version, but it just wasn't as good. You didn't feel like they had as much of a connection as in the 76 version, right? But I loved the attitude of all those kids. And I remember that's the kind of stuff that we watched when I was a kid. And when I got older, that's the kind of stuff that, if a coach was being an asshole, like, you would just have that in your brain. You wouldn't know it, but you would know, like, no, fuck you, coach. Like, I'm not doing your shit. And it may not work out great for you, but that's what we saw versus some of the things where in the 2005, the team, which I thought was actually appropriate for the time, the team would get mad at their players for doing that. Whereas it felt like in the 76, all those other kids on the field were like, yeah, Jimmy, show him.
Well, I mean, some of them were trying to get the ball away from him when he was Joey. Yeah. And then they just stopped. But I mean, that, to me, that was more impactful to me because when he tells him, like, the dad's saying, throw the ball, Joey, then he realizes, like, he's not going to listen. It kind of belittles him, which I think was great. And then it was symbolic too when he drops the ball in front of him and walks away to his mom.
Yep. It dragged out that whole thing so that there was no way to sort of misunderstand. This kid was doing it to his dad. Now, in the 2005, he throws it underhand. He hits a home run. Sure, that's great. But that required Engelberg to hit that home run. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't hit it, then what happens? You know what I mean? Like, It's more of what the Bad News Bears in 2005, what they did. They took that opportunity, whereas in the 1976, that kid just looked at his dad and he's like, I'm not giving it to you.
Yeah, it wasn't that. Before we move on to our verdict, I did want to touch on one more thing, and that's the character of Hooper, the kid in the. I thought
kid
that
in the
was
wheelchair.
I thought it was, to me, it was dumb. Not because it wasn't realistic. It's just the fact you just put that in there for humor, and it made no sense to me to have it in there for humor. It was, to me, it was just, even for it being raunchy, it was, to me, it was unneeded. Like I don't see how that's funny.
Right. And they also gave him the wrong character to play.
Mm-hmm.
The kid in the wheelchair should have been Ogilvy. So Ogilvy in the 76 was just a nerd that knew stats. In 76, that would have been a big deal, right? Like people didn't start catching on to that shit until the 90s. So he knew the stats and he was helping Buttermaker sort of do some of these things. He didn't play. You know, he only had, I think he said he was 0 for 4 on the season when they said it. So then you have a kid in a wheelchair that is clearly going to be really hard to get him into a game. Why wasn't he Ogilvy?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of give that to Prem, that nerdiness, and then the ending where they have Kelly Leak fly out, and then Garo, who just wants to hit the ball, like they try to make it into like a sappiness.
Yeah.
Just they both had them lose, which I thought was the original. I thought was really good to do so because it wasn't a cliche writing there. They lost.
Right.
But like, I understand they wanted to have like a more like, I guess, sappiness for this one. But why just let Kelly Leak do it? Like you killed the character of Kelly Leak, I think, for this film. And put most of his stuff into Billy Bob Thornton. So he was kind of like watered down to where he wasn't likable. And it has nothing to do with Jeffrey Davies and his performance. He never really had a chance to make that persona his own. They kind of just watered it down and gave most of it to Billy Bob Thornton for a 2005 film.
And then in the 76 film, Lupus was the kid that everybody was making fun of. Tanner rode his ass the whole time. And like, nobody liked him. He makes that catch at the end of the game, which is a big deal. In the 2005, he is going to make the catch. He misses, but it bounces to Hooper in the wheelchair. Well, nobody gave Hooper shit. That wasn't a big deal.
That was unrealistic like a motherfucker, because unless Hooper had some like, I'm not saying Hooper couldn't catch a fly ball in his scooter, but there's no way in hell that scooter moved that damn fast to Lupus at second base. Come on.
No, and that was ridiculous. So, it was like they missed the beats. They tried to put in the same beats, but then they missed the point behind them, right? Like they just didn't. There was no victory with Lupus missing the ball and Hooper catching the ball, because Hooper didn't play and Hooper wasn't trying to, and the kids weren't making fun of him, like, yeah.
What would have happened if Hooper came up to plate? Like, how would he hit?
Yeah, I don't know. They would have had to pinch hit for him, I guess.
Like, I don't know, man.
And I'm okay with like maybe having a character like that, but he should have been Ogilvy. And he should have been, doing the stats and doing all that stuff because he wanted to be on a team. And then Lupus still should have been the one at the end catching that.
Yeah,
ball.
I had my issue wasn't so much with them having him in a wheelchair and being on a team. It was more, they did it for comedic value. And I'm like, that to me is just tasteless. And it made no sense to, they had him make jokes about, I mean, I know a lot of people who are, disabled that make jokes, as themselves and stuff like that, but self-defecating humor. But I mean, to me, it just made no sense, like to make it an emphasis of the character. It was like, what's the point of it?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That character was misused and probably shouldn't have been in the, if he was going to be in the movie, he needed to be used different. And, they tried to poke fun at the disability more than anything else. It was not very good.
But with that, Mr. Cotton, let's go into our Act 3 for our verdict here.
Chow dear! Chow dear! It's chowder! Say it right!
Showdown.
What's chowder? What
Yeah. I just put that because he's getting criticized. So,
yeah.
so here is our verdict. If you remember, we go by the 3 ruling system, which is a reboot, which is a good movie. It deserves to be there. Could make sequels out of it. A remake, meh. Movie could be good, but literally the same as the original. Didn't need to be made, but okay to watch. And in fact, lastly, the rename had nothing to do with the original besides title. Could be good or bad. Should be named something else. So, Mr.
And also, just if we really hated it, rethink your life plans if you made that movie.
And I'm gonna go first and say this is a rethink. I don't think this film needs to be made. You had a good cast in Ray. I keep calling him Ray Kinnear, Gray Kinnear, and Billy Bob Thornton. Basically, you tried to make Bad Santa with kids, and it was, to me, a complete miss in the dark. There were sequels lined up for this film if it did well, and thank God it didn't. And don't tell. And I mean, I know the Bad News Bears sequels and the '76 film weren't that great, but we don't need any more of this bullshit that came out in 2005. Some stories don't need to be remade. I think the '76 version, if you take out the stereotypical stuff that we talked about, the racist kind of thing, it still, the moral of the story still plays true. I think it shows kids acting as kids, shows the '70s culture. I mean, Dazed and Confused is loved, and that movie is made in '94. It's supposed to be set in the '70s.
It's set in '76.
Yeah, so it still has that love for it. Yeah, so I mean, there would need to be no remakes of the Bad News Bears. If there is, I would hope they would take the essence of the story and make it their own. I'm not. I don't like when you just rehash stories and try to make them raunchy. I don't like when you rehash stories for in general just to make money, and that's what I think this is a cash grab.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It's a rethink your life choices if you approve this movie, because it was bad. I mean, everything about it was there was so much that was the same that it actually highlighted the minimal changes that were made, and every one of those changes seemed to be the wrong choice, right? Like, it just, the making Whitewood into a woman and then having her sleep with the coach, changing Chico's bail bonds to the strip club, like doing all those things just kind of, and then even at the end, he gives the kids non-alcoholic beer. What's the point? Those kids would not drink that. They wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, I want this. In the original, when he gives the kids beers at the end, those are real beers. That's a very 70s thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Like back in the 70s, you might actually give a kid a beer to drink. But it's beer. That's why it's a big deal. If it's a non-alcoholic, then the kids aren't going to drink it because it's going to taste like crap to them.
Well, I mean, Tanner does say in the 2005, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? And then he drinks it. And that's the thing. Like, they dumped some of that stuff down, and that was not good. And then I will say, in the '76 movie, I didn't quite understand how the team made it to the championship. They looked terrible the entire movie. And in the 2005, I got to a point where I seriously thought they were going to win the championship because they started to look so much better in like the montages.
I think the montage for the '76 was not as great as the 2005. I mean, even though he does say in the '76 version, things take time, is what he tells them. I think 2005 was a little bit better in presenting that, hey, they've been working at it. Even though he was teaching them horrible fundamentals, they were working at it more to, and they had their own plays and whatnot to kind of capture the being good. But I think the 2005 version had some funny moments in it, like I said, but it just didn't need to be made. It was a waste of money to, I'm gonna be honest with you. When it came out, I didn't go see it. I saw it
No.
maybe 10 years later. I remember for promotions when they used to have the MTV softball. Billy Bob Thornton came out, and one of his like bonuses was having the Bad News Bears kids come out to be his fielders, and he grounded out to one of them anyway. That's how horrible he was at the game. But it was just like that was a promotional thing. But that's the only thing I remember. Like I thought you try to make it your own, make it something good. And I don't know if Linklater had control over the script or more, but to me, it was just trying to be too raunchy. And it just missed on a lot of points for me. It missed on a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was, it didn't need to be made. And so I didn't see it in theaters either, but I did rent it as soon as it came out. Like I did want to see this movie. And I remember being somewhat disappointed with it. And then I never thought about it again. Right. And I don't think anybody really thinks about this movie. The 2005 Bad News Bears, other than when they think about the 76 movie, they're like, didn't they do a remake? Like that was it. And remakes can be, like we have remake as one of our choices. If it was
that your
just
dog?
What?
Was that that squeaking sound? Was that your dog?
No, that was my chair. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I thought that was your dog like going.
No, no, but so a remake can be just a meh movie. I think this movie was like bad. I didn't like Billy Bob Thornton's character. I didn't like Greg Kinnear's character. I didn't like Whitewood. I didn't like all the adults. The same characters in the other movies seem to have something that at least drew you in, right? And gave you a sense of these may be the bad guys in this movie, but they're not the worst. And each one of the ones in the 2005, I was just like, I don't like these people at all. And I don't have to like them all, but it made the 76 a more enjoyable film.
Also, the portrayals of Buttermaker, like, I think I liked Matthau when they asked him why he didn't make it to the majors. He's like, contract disputes. Like, the Billy Bob Thornton, like, he tried to make it seem like he smacked some guy and gave him stitches. And then when they're like, when Matthau gets mad at the kids to get their ass, he tells us, get your fat ass on. Like, you kind of feel a little scared. Like, if Billy Bob Thornton was yelling at me, I would have laughed. I'm not going to lie. Because he was not very intimidating as a coach in the film. That's just me.
Yeah, he came across more angry at the kids than Matthau did. Matthau seemed like annoyed versus angry, whereas Billy Bob Thornton seemed angry. The only thing that in the 76 movie where just, I will say, took me by shock is when he throws that beer in Tatum O'Neal's face.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like that one blew me away. I'm like, holy
Or
shit.
even when Rudy Stein like doesn't listen to him, he's like, I told you not to swing, you idiot. And he comes in, he fucking throws him into the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Like the side, like he just throws him like, or even the whole Joey thing when Roy Turner runs out there and he smacks him on top of the head and knocks him down. In the 2005 film, he flips his hat off.
Yeah.
Which is to water it down. But I was like, but even when I saw that as a kid, I was like, holy shit, this guy like just smacked the shit out of his kid in front of everybody.
Yep. But I mean, 70s, that is honestly how that would have worked. Like you could get hit in front of everyone and nobody would do anything. What happened in that 2005 movie was less of a big deal, but they would have stopped that damn game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really surprised me is that the 76 movie, all the themes and everything that happened, even though it's like a product of the time and wouldn't happen now, you understood that's what would have happened in that era. The 2005, a lot of that stuff, you're like, no, that would not have happened in 2005. And somehow a 20-year-old movie seems far more dated than a 50-year-old movie. Isn't that weird? Like,
Yeah.
that's how I felt. I was like, this movie seems dated. Like, all of the things that are going on in the 05 version seem like something that just would never happen. And it's like, wouldn't. But when you watch that 76, you're like, no, that would happen then. It's not how it happens now. But you understood it as a part of those times. And the 2005 did not pull that off.
No, it didn't. I don't. The 2005 movie just pissed me off a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Just certain aspects, like I said, the Kelly Leak character, they watered him down. It didn't have as many good one-liners as the original. The Harley gig, the Harley, that whole. I love that scene, even though it's so stupid when they're going and they try. She's doing ballet.
Yeah.
And he just the Kelly Leak like. The one-liner is there. Like Kelly Leak, I think is more likable in the original than he is in the, and it shows that he's a rebel. But in like the relationship between him and Buttermaker, like Buttermaker calls him out of shit though. Like he tells him, "Don't." In the original, wait, don't act like I could get somebody. At least I'll get Ogilvy up there. He'll try. When he tells him that, he pisses him off. Like, but in the 2005, I don't know. I think they try to play too much on Thornton's personality in the 05 version, and it just fell apart.
Yes, the 05 version felt much more his perspective. You got a lot more of the kids in the 76 version. The Kelly Leak character, even though he didn't say much and didn't do much, he was in that movie a lot of different times before he joined the team. The relationship between Buttermaker and Amanda felt way more real. They did a much better job of that. And I would say probably both movies have a similar amount of time between those two. But you really, and maybe it's because Tatum O'Neal is a great actress, but and Walter Matthau. I mean, they were so good together that you really felt that. And when he did that at the end, God, you felt bad for Tatum O'Neal, and it was rough.
Yeah, and I did like, like I said, he kind of like told her when they kind of made up at the end, him and her. I kind of wished, well, just the film nerd in me was like, what would happen? Did he eventually talk to the mom or not? In 2005, I didn't really give a shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's just like that chemistry wasn't there between the two. And it showed like Billy Bob Thornton's character is edgy, while Walter Matthau is his character is more of an anti-hero. Like he's not really a good person, but he does have some good qualities. Right.
Walter Matthau's character is definitely a bad person, but it's not his intent. Right? Mm-hmm. Like his intent is to be better than he really is. And he can't get out of his own way to do it. Whereas Billy Bob Thornton feels like his intent is to be the biggest asshole that he can be. And I think that feeling for me ruined the 2005 movie. Even though Billy Bob Thornton did a great job in it. And I personally don't like Billy Bob Thornton in general. But here's the thing. I'll tell you how good an actor Billy Bob Thornton is when I see that he's going to be in a movie, it does not turn the dial for me at all. But when I watch that movie and I see him in it, he almost always wins me over. Like, so I don't think, I want to see a Billy Bob Thornton movie. But when I see him in a movie, I'm like, oh, Billy Bob again. And then by the end of the movie, I'm like, God damn, he's like good. Like he's a really good actor. And he just didn't, this material didn't work for him in the way that it was put together.
No, I think that's what killed the character for me was the source material was not great for him. And he did well with what he had. I'll give him that. I just, like I said, I tried going these things more open-minded because I hate remakes.
Yeah,
And-
I know.
but it just didn't. It missed like when last time we did the Body Snatchers. At least the sequel or the remake was considered by some one of the greatest remakes of all time.
Yeah,
It was a,
exactly.
it was a remake. It was it was a good movie. This one didn't even need to be made. It's just like you're just capitalizing off the bad Santa fame. You wanted to take an edgy film that you thought you could make more money off in '05, and no wonder it hasn't been remade. I mean, if they try to do it again, at least try and keep it to the heart of the original story, or update it to current conflicts instead of and tell it from the view of the kids. The best kids movies are told from the view of the kids. Sandlot,
Yep.
Bad News Bears. Those are the best movies that are told from the when you think of sports movies, told from the view of the kids. When they try to do too much of the parents with the kids story, it doesn't work out too well.
Yeah. Well, and then it's amazing. Like you look at 1976, it cost $9 million to make. It made $32 million. It made almost as much money in 1976 as the 2005 movie made $34 million, except for the 2005 cost $35 million. So it lost $1 million.
I don't get that either. Like, how did this film cost $35 million? What was most of probably went to the actors' salaries, I'm assuming, because
I
there's
think
not
so.
really, and this maybe the $35 million went into that stupid ass CGI catch at the end.
Yeah.
That-
Things like that I think cost a lot more. Linklater being a big director. I mean, I think they tried. Like you can see that they tried to do this and make it a good movie. They just missed on it, and it's too bad. Well, it's actually not too bad because then we don't ever have to see it again because I don't want to see any more of the Bad News Bears. That first movie, like you said, there are a few pacing issues, there are a few little issues with it, and of course the times have changed a lot. But the story comes through so well, and 50 years old, and those are the same issues that are happening on ball fields right now. And I think that's an amazing testament to how good that movie was.
Yeah, and it was the first movie that really popularized in terms of sports the group of misfits. In sports sense. I mean, I know Tony mentioned the Dirty Dozen as another. This is something I want to give to our listeners and our viewers before we get out of here. Is me and you, we're trying to come up with something similar that can be comparable to the Bad News Bears. We mentioned, for the Body Snatchers, The World's End was basically the Body Snatchers in a different, different format, different kind of movie, but basically the same outline.
Well, and Body Snatchers clearly influenced tons of other movies that came out after it. But yeah,
What
this
film does the Bad News Bears influence? I'm saying I threw out Major League out there, but it doesn't have that same from the player's perspective, or it has more comedy and a love story, but doesn't really give you that raunchiness, grittiness of the baseball feel. Bull Durham, I heard somebody tell me, I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
What film is out there gives that kind of vibe as the Bad News Bears?
We had this conversation a little bit yesterday, and it's really hard to figure that out. I mean, this is a sports movie in which your main heroes of the movie fail. They lose, right? And so then for a second there, I thought Rocky. But Rocky came out in 76 as well, I think. So
yeah, and Rocky was likable. Like, he was a good person.
Yeah, but he loses. So if you're trying to do that, but if they come out in the exact same year, Rocky was not influenced by this in any way. And you just try to think of movies where the team ultimately comes up short. They are very few and far between. And when they do, it doesn't feel like it did in the Bad News Bears when they're still defiant at the end.
Yeah, they're still like rebels, and it and more I think about, they had to lose. Like, that was the Bears' way. Like, they couldn't win.
And I think that's part of the problem with the sequels is that I think they win.
They win in the breaking ground. They beat they're considered the California champs in the sequels. It's sound like they went from losing the Little League and all of a sudden they became the California champs. And then they somehow lost their best pitcher and their coach.
Yeah, those sequels. I think the sequels actually made some good money because I think people just wanted to see them, but they were much lighter fare. They were more for kids than the original was.
Kelly Leak went to go find his dad in part 2, and then somehow he ends up in Japan.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I try and think of him. I mean, I think you said the Replacements were similar, but there's a lot of movies about underdogs, but there's not a lot of movies out there where the underdogs are clearly somewhat okay with being the underdog. They're defiant about who they are, right? Mm-hmm. They are those kids. Tanner wasn't apologizing for fighting with literally everyone. Ogilvy wasn't really apologizing for being the nerdy kid. Tatum O'Neal wasn't apologizing for, clearly wanting her, coach to be more of a father figure. Like Kelly Leak was the kid who was like, he was kind of the bad kid and he didn't care. Like all these kids were comfortable in who they were, it felt. And a lot of times when you see movies where they're underdogs or they're outcasts or something, the story arc is that they become comfortable, right? And I got the feeling that these kids came in like, we are who we are, and you're just going to deal with that.
And to be honest with you, I was just thinking about this right now. A film that could maybe be similar, but it still focuses more on the coach than it does the kids. And not a lot of people like this film. I like it. Is the Keanu Reeves film Hardball?
Okay, see, and I have not actually seen Hardball.
Hardball is it's based in Chicago. Keanu Reeves is paid to coach, and it's more because it's a charity thing, not because it's the league is being sued. It's more the coach does a charity for his law firm, the guy who originally was supposed to do it. He pays his degenerate friend, who's a degenerate gambler, to coach, and he takes over inner city youth, and it's mostly set in the projects. Most of the kids are African American. The only difference is those kids in the film actually had some talent. There is the kids being themselves in that film. But the ending is different and it's more tragedy in the ending. You should watch it and let me know. Let me know what you guys think, who's listening and watching. But I just thought of that off the whim, but now I was thinking about it more and more while we were talking. Maybe Hardball would be similar, but I don't know. I like Hardball. A lot of people don't. But
yeah. Well, I mean, again, I love these movies where the kids, the young people, are sort of confident and cocky, and it shows sort of the people in charge, the parents, aren't that confident. You know what I mean? Or like they kind of understand that they're doing the wrong thing, and yet they keep doing it. And the kids know they're doing the wrong thing as well. And I don't know, but it's like they're doing it to spite the authority figure.
Being rebellious. Yeah. Being a kid.
And I guess I love rebellion movies. And I mean, this movie fit right in with rebellious movies in a way that I did not expect when I went into it. I thought it was like, oh, the kids kind of come together and then they almost win. Like I knew that part, but it had been so long, I forgot how rebellious even the Yankees pitcher. Like honestly, I love that scene. I do. That's an amazing scene. So
yeah. So that's our Frame for Frame episode 2 with the Bad News Bears 1976 versus the 2005 Bad News Bears. Let us know in the comments. Tweet at us. Well, don't tweet at me, or both of us aren't on Twitter. Blue sky us. Let us know what you think. Me and Cotton are trying to get the show better. Let us know what you thought of the segment breakdown. If it was a better paced. Anything you guys think we could do to improve the show. We're still getting into our flow, our chemistry, to get the show running like a smooth-oiled machine. But Mr. Cotton, I really look forward to these conversations because it's a different perspective than usually me and Tony arguing or agreeing on certain stuff. I do like the film discussion aspect of it with different people. So
Right.
I really appreciate you doing this with me. Do you want to plug anything before we go?
Not really. I mean, Bleacher Bunch is the podcast network I'm a part of. I will be writing. I write some things for Sadistic Penguins now. And then Bleacher Bump Bible book and Going North to the Pole. I've got 2 books on Amazon if you want to buy. They're kind of fun things. But yeah, I think that's it. And I am at Cubes Fan on Blue Sky. If you are looking over there, but I'm not on there a ton.
No, neither am I. Mostly to post certain things every once in a while. But Lil Yumper at Blue Sky, I'm on there as well. But the After Show Pod is on Twitter, and this is where the show broadcasts out of as basically a sub show. So this will be on the audio format and the video format. If you guys get a chance, please rate the show on all the podcast networks. It helps us get out there to other people, whether it's good or bad. Give us your real criticisms. I don't take anything personally. I just try to get better. I know we both don't. So the more ratings and stuff we get, the better we can improve the show. Also, the better we can outreach to different people.
Yeah, and I think from last week to this week, we made some changes. I like some of them. We will continue to change until we find the correct form, and so the listeners can definitely help us with that.
Yep. And with that, we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. This show will be out on Monday on the YouTube channel. If you want to watch it live, and it'll also be on the audio version. So till then, we'll see you guys in a few weeks.
All right.